investing in the stock market and haven't done very well? Come into Online Trading Academy. Have your investments lost money and you're frustrated because the only thing your broker says is write it out? Hop in the car and get to Online Trading Academy. Pro investors show you how money is made in up, down, and sideways markets. You'll see the best way to pick stocks, options, futures, and Forex using a patented rules-based strategy taught only at Online Trading Academy. How to find the right investments, how to time the market, how to protect money from risk. For over 20 years, thousands have learned how to invest from home at Online Trading Academy. Come in and see what this school's all about at a free half-day class. They're all over Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Stewart, and Port St. Lucie. Seating is limited, so call Online Trading Academy now to win a pair of tickets. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510.
Mom, can we have some ice cream?
I've got a better idea. Who wants to help me make something fun and healthy instead?
Eating smarter is easy and delicious. Interested in receiving healthy recipes and a whole lot more in your email? Then register at healthiestweightfl.com and learn more about all the small steps that you can take on the way to living healthy. This message is sponsored by the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, the Florida Department of Health, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
This is Talk 1470. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teal. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. I'm your host, Marcia Teal. I'm so happy that you could join us today. This show is especially for caregivers that are caring for someone that can't really take care of themselves, especially somebody who has some form of dementia. Maybe it's Alzheimer's disease, maybe it's Parkinson's disease, or a vascular-type dementia. Doesn't really matter what kind, because dementia creates its own, problems. It's memory loss, no matter what causes it, and caregivers have to do, all the work and the load and be there for that person and be their advocate and be everything for that person who can't speak for themselves necessarily, who can't make their own decisions, who can't do a lot of things that they used to do. There seems to be a lot of resources out there, but I still talk to caregivers all the time that says, where do I start? How do I get information? I don't know, where to go, what to do. So this show was created 3.5 years ago just for that purpose. Especially this is great for caregivers who work. Maybe they can't go to support groups. Maybe they can't drive. Maybe you can't get out of the house because they can't leave their loved one. This is something that you can listen to or watch in the comfort of your own home. And it's after hours, so if you're an adult child and your parents are suffering with some form of dementia and you would like to get yourself prepared, then you can listen to us after work on the radio on your way home. So you can listen to us on the iHeartRadio app, searching 1470 AM. Pick that up and listen every Tuesday, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Or you can actually watch us either on your home computer or on your smartphone on the website caregiversolutions.info. info. Either way that you're with us now, I'm so glad because we have another wonderful program for you today. This show is for you to be educated, to learn from, and there have been so many wonderful guests over the last few years, and there's so many more that we want to bring to you. And I'm so happy now to let you know that we are live on location on the west coast of Florida in Seminole, Florida. It's a beautiful little town on the west coast of Florida. And we're live with an executive director. She works at our Arden Courts of Seminole. She has been phenomenal. She's been in the healthcare industry for many, many years with lots of experience. National sponsor, of course, is Arden Courts. So I wanted to thank them for hosting the show, for giving us this format, this platform to reach out to caregivers, to educate them and help them, giving them tips and information. So I'm glad that you are here. So just want to go ahead and introduce to you the Executive Director of Seminole, Florida Arden Courts. Her name is Laura Pinard, and she's joining us. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, now you're there. Okay, we had a little disconnect. Okay, so you are with us via telephone, and thank you for joining us today. You know, it's a new year, and, you know, it doesn't matter what day of the year it is, but caregivers are unfortunately being born, so to speak, every day because this terrible disease, Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, it doesn't stop. There's no cure for it. And so, unfortunately, we have to help caregivers and help families deal with this terrible disease. So, Laura, I want to start out by asking you, I know you have a lot of experience in a regular assisted living, and now you've been in the specific memory care assisted living here at the Arden Courts of Seminole for 4 or 5 years. Let's talk about why somebody who might be living in a regular assisted living, first of all, why they go to a regular assisted living, and then we're going to talk about why they may have to leave a regular assisted living, okay?
Yes.
So you've got someone at home, maybe it's a couple, maybe it's an individual, and they're living in their own home. Why would somebody actually move out of their private home into a regular assisted living?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, actually. First of all, I think one of the things that happens is if it, let's just say, for instance, is a husband and wife, one of whom is the caregiver, it can become quite overwhelming. And he or she will have difficulty in trying to keep up and maintain a quality of life for their loved one. So it is time to look for a place in, say, assisted living to provide the support, programs, or any additional help that they may need through a team of professionals. And I think one of the things that we may forget is that it's only just one of us at home, but when you go into assisted living, there's a team of professionals to help and assist and guide. So that's one of the things that can really, you know, actually promote wellness and a better quality of life for their loved one. That's not to say that the loved one didn't do his or her job. That's quite the opposite. It's that they have done a great job. It's just time to, you know, ask for help so they can live, both can live a quality of life without being overwhelmed, and the other one that's dealing with and living with dementia can live a life that is purposeful and happy and easy without any strain or stress.
Right. Well, you know, I love that because you're talking about a couple that maybe one does have already dementia moving in to get the support from the team members there at the assisted living because it makes things easier. But a lot of people move into regular assisted living. Maybe they're alone. Maybe they aren't married. They're on their own, and they decide to go into a regular assisted living because, again, it's easier for them. They don't have to cut the grass. They don't have to do necessarily things that they would do at home. They have more free time, a way to socialize. So going into basically what you said, into a regular assisted living, frees them up and gives them extra support as time goes on.
Correct, yes. And it's a win-win for both parties, Again, if you use that example of a husband and wife, that, they both will benefit from that because they won't have the extra stress of caring for their loved one, and the loved one can now, participate and be as independent as possible and receiving some additional support from a group of professionals.
Right, because you've got doctors that come into the building. There's activities that are already planned, so they don't have to drive to get to, a clubhouse, and they don't have to, do their all their own chores because you've got housekeeping services. So that's great. So let's fast forward now. Say we have a couple or even an individual who has moved into a regular assisted living, and time has moved on, and it's 10 to maybe 15 years later, and they're aging, and then, they're getting older, their health might be suffering. Something's happening to them because there comes a point in time where not everyone who moves into a regular assisted living can stay till the end of life. They might need more support. So let's talk about what happens and what could happen, some examples of things that would cause someone to have to leave that assisted living and then seek more care. Let's talk about that. What do you say?
Yes, I think one of the big things that we do see in needing additional support is for those that are now dealing with memory loss issues. So even a diagnosis can be made in an assisted living if there is noticeable differences with that individual, and that person may be diagnosed with Alzheimer's, for instance. And as we know, unfortunately, it's a progressive disease. It's a disease now that they still don't have a cure for, but we do have a lot of things and a lot of great people in place to help nurture that individual with their memory loss. And a lot of times, I think, too, what happens with the memory loss is people are still trying to rely on a memory that they no longer have. So it becomes frustrating. They become overwhelmed. They can't deal with the simple task of daily life, let's say. So now this individual needs memory care. And in a memory care community, you will get the additional support of folks that are trained in Alzheimer's care and related irreversible dementias, as well as programming, a design of buildings that will, promote good life, quality of life and well-being and independence. And with that additional help of the people being trained in this type of field of Alzheimer's, it will almost it's not like a cookie-cut type of plan of care. It's an individual plan of care for that person to promote wellness and quality of life. And I always say you can always have quality of life even when you have memory loss.
That's right. That's right.
There's always feelings, human emotions, and people in memory care really are, dedicated and committed people that love what they do and are passionate about what they do, and can guide those living with this disease or diseases through a life that can be well lived. I believe.
Right. Right. So, some of the specifics, it's interesting because I just spoke with a caregiver yesterday. She's a daughter. Her dad was in a regular assisted living for several years. She lives out of state. And all of a sudden she gets a phone call from the executive director who says, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to give your dad a 45-day notice, which is what's required by law, at least here in Florida. and he has to look to move. And she says, well, why? I don't understand. And, of course, his behaviors actually, dictated that he leave because he was doing things that the other residents in the regular assisted living, couldn't deal with, that was inappropriate. For instance, he was walking in other people's apartments uninvited, thinking that it was his because he was confused and he didn't know where his own apartment was. So that was, of course, unsettling for some of those residents. And he also was so confused he couldn't find his way down from the fourth floor of this regular assisted living down to the huge dining room. So therefore, he had lost a lot of weight. He had some other issues, and there were several other things that were, not appropriate any longer for him to stay in that regular assisted living. So he was told that he must find other alternatives, and so therefore the caregiver is in this boat where she has to find more support, like we're talking about. So I really appreciate you sharing with that. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, Laura is going to share with us some of the things that a caregiver should look for when they are actually starting to shop for a new place for their loved one that does need memory support. So we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts.
Info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
We are back, and we are live on location in Seminole, Florida. And my guest today is Laura Sinar. She's the Executive Director of the Arden Courts Memory Care Community in Seminole. And as you know, Arden Courts is our national sponsor. So we're talking about why would someone need to move from a regular assisted living into a memory care. And Laura, thank you for sharing that with us. And now let's talk about some of the things that would be important for a caregiver when they're starting to shop and look around and make that big decision of where they're going to move their loved one, or where maybe an adult child would have to step in. Maybe they're the power of attorney, and they would have to step in to move mom from the regular assisted living that she's been at for 5 or 10 years, and now she needs more care because of a diagnosis of memory loss. What are some of the things that these caregivers should look for when they start their search?
I think one of the points that you just brought up before, Marcia, which was a very good one, with the different types of behavioral expressions that individuals might exhibit in a regular assisted living that can no longer reside there or qualify them to continue to reside there, is that there's memory care. And one of the things that happens, too, is people can be exit-seeking or wandering or trying to, elope from a community. In memory care, there's secured neighborhoods, so that provides for, safety and security of our residents, but also, too, to allow them to be as independent as possible, throughout the day. You want to look for, again, places that are going to be secured. I would say for looking for a very nice design that allows for freedom of movement within the communities as well as outdoors in a secured environment, allowing people to walk like you and I do every day, from room to room, or to go outside and have that freedom to do that, and looking for people that are trained in Alzheimer's care, or, for those living with irreversible dementias, that we are able to accommodate and understand how to help those people to nurture them through their journey. Because it's a tough journey for the caregiver. It could be a tough journey for the person that's living with dementia, but you can actually make it easier and light if the professionals are trained in that specific field. And that's one of the most important things, is I think, is to understand the disease process and what happens, to have compassion and passion in your heart to do what you know how to do best, and do it well, along with a beautiful design of a facility that allows for that freedom of movement and independence. I think everybody wants to be as independent as long as possible, and you can still do that with memory loss, but in a memory care environment, that person's going to need more guidance and support and nurturance through that journey. Whereas in assisted living, they can, go, like you said, on the fourth floor to the first floor and find their way to the dining room or programs, where in our environment with memory care is that it's structured, it's safe, and it allows for, people that are living with this disease to still live life and be treated as the adults that they are, and know that just because somebody has memory loss doesn't devalue them in any way, shape, or form. They're just going to need more help throughout the day. Right. And you can still live well.
And you can still have quality of life.
It takes that. It takes a good group of people that understand the disease process, passionate about what they do, and in a loving, caring environment that, with a great design, and it has all these extra amenities that will support well-being and good living with memory loss.
So, Laura, how important is the experience of the staff when a caregiver is looking for a new place for their loved one to live? How important is that?
Well, I think that's, first, I think you have to have heart for what you do. If you have a heart and you're passionate and compassionate about human life, and trying to provide quality care for our elderly population that might be going through this journey, you definitely have to have that. But you also need to be trained in the field of Alzheimer's and related irreversible dementias, so you have expectations and you can anticipate what may be coming next. And
right, but isn't there's a big difference between being trained in Alzheimer's and actually doing the job and having the experience of doing it with other people? Because you can be trained all day, book smart, but unless you're there in the in the trench doing it, I mean, I think those two kind of, yes, they go together, but one is not exclusive of the other.
That is certainly true. You have to love what you do, but you also need to know what you're doing. And to be educated and trained in the process of what will happen with these diseases will kind of thwart any negative outcomes. You want to make it as positive as you can. You want to be respectful and provide dignity just like we all do for one another in our regular daily lives. It's no different with somebody that's living with this disease. In fact, I think they should be nurtured even more and provided with the love and the care and concern that they deserve. And,
right.
Nobody wants this disease or diseases. And, God bless the givers of care professionally and at home that are doing this day in and day out. You have support out there. And there are a lot of loving, kind, caring people that really are devoted to memory care and helping. And I think that's
yes, and that's important for caregivers to know and to hear that. What about activities? What about the difference? What kind of activities would be different? How would the activities be different from a regular assisted living to a memory care as activities specifically for that population? What would be the difference?
Well, a lot of them are very structured. They're smaller in size. You can have larger group programming as well. But you want to really tap into the interest and remaining abilities of their loved ones so they can, do what they loved to do in the past, but will still need assistance there. Programs that will nurture every aspect of the disease and the phases of the disease. So if somebody's living, in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, let's take for example, that they're going to be more active, they're going to be able to do things and handle, paintbrushes and the paint and have their easel and their and be able to do all that maybe on their own with just cueing. But then for those that are going to need more assistance, you might have more structured programs, more assistance that's needed, and might have to adapt part of the art therapy program. And it still allows them to participate, but it might be an adaptive type of program. And then namaste. You can have namaste for those that are living at the later stages of the disease process, which is more of a very calming, soothing, almost spiritual and nurturing type of program where residents will get massages or listen to classical music, bringing in pets and for pet therapy. Those are things that we need to look at for everyone that's living with this disease and the different phases of the disease processes, because not everybody's at the same level, and we need to be able
so you want to adjust
the
activities to their level and make it so that they can participate and still feel part of a group and still feel that they have something to offer and they have self-esteem and self-worth. And I know this is the philosophy at Art and Courts, and I know you talk from experience when you're talking about all these wonderful things, because certainly I can hear it from your heart, talking about you need to have heart for being in this industry and helping people, and I can feel that in your voice. I can hear it, and I know that you have the heart for the caregivers, and I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do to help everyone day in and day out and leading, a great team and sharing your expertise. Certainly you are an expert in this field of memory care and memory care communities and what is needed and what's right and what is not right so that you can give the best possible plan of care and experiences to people that would need them. So thank you, Laura, so much for being on the show today, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Marcia. Happy New Year to you, too. It was an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have more wonderful tips to share with you. They're actually called caregiver resolutions. So if you didn't make your New Year's resolutions, we've got some for you as caregivers. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know. We understand. We can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Communities. Arden Courts is a leader in memory care. They have close to 50 communities all across the United States and 10 right here in the state of Florida. Arden Courts is there to help you. I thank them for sponsoring this program, and as such, they're there to provide resources to caregivers and education and, of course, care for your loved one. One of the things that Arden Courts would like to do for you, the caregiver, is give away a free book. It's called The 36-Hour Day. It's an awesome book. It's a book that's been around quite a while, so it's always being updated and kept current, written by Dr. Peter Ravens and Nancy Mace. This is a great book for caregivers if you want to educate yourself a little more, look up some specific chapters of maybe something that you're going through. It will give you definitions. It will give you information, a lot of tips in there. If you don't have this book, I would highly recommend you calling to get it absolutely free. All you have to do is call the toll-free number of Arden Courts, which is 888-478-2410. Again, call 888-478-2410. Tell them that you heard about the free 36-hour day book offer on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they'll be glad to get your name and address and make sure that a book gets mailed right to your door. So call them today. Don't hesitate. Have it on your bookshelf. You can read it all at once, or you can just pick and choose chapters, whatever is applicable to you. But again, highly recommend that for caregivers. So I'm actually on location in Seminole, Florida, on the west coast of Florida, near Clearwater. And my guests today, two wonderful people from the Arden Courts there. We just spoke to Laura Pinard, Executive Director. And now I'm going to be speaking to Donna Caesar. Donna is the Marketing Director there at Arden Courts for many, many years. And let's bring her on right now. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Marcia, and everybody out there. How are you doing?
We're doing great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
So, you know, this is very timely that I'm over here with you and we're talking about care for caregivers. You have just put out a postcard brochure called CareGiver resolutions for the new year. And these look like, New Year's resolutions that someone would make, but these are specific to caregivers. How great is that?
I enjoyed looking for this information and getting it ready.
Okay, so why do you think caregivers, would need resolutions? Don't they have enough on their plate already, trying to do everything for their loved one and the running around and the stress of everything? Why do they need resolutions? They're going to think, gee, I can't add anything else to my plate. Why are these kind of resolutions different?
Well, these resolutions are going to focus on the caregiver and what the caregiver should kind of look at. And I understand. I was a caregiver, a private care for my mother about a year ago, up until about a year ago. And I did everything that I needed to do, but I forgot to take care of myself. I forgot to pay attention to my own health.
So even though you know what to do, when you're a caregiver, it just kind of slips away from you because you're in that mode, right? And no one's there reminding you to take care of yourself.
Correct. It's kind of, you get into your routine, and it's all about, I need to get this, and this done. And at the end of the day, you're exhausted, and you go, oh my, what have I done today?
And there's a statistic out there about caregivers and all the stress that's put on them. Talk a little bit about that.
Unfortunately, and I'll give you an example, is that I am 1 in 5 caregivers. That means one of us as caregivers out of the 5 will have a major health crisis prior to your loved one having any. If you think about it, their memory loss is such that they're going day by day, every second of every day is a brand new day for them. For us, if we forget to take care of ourselves, we could end up in the hospital and we could end up in rehab. Then what? What I often say is that I had a family member that moved mom to, transitioned mom. Mom had some concerns, and all those concerns were handled. It was a week later, Dad passed away.
So Dad was the caregiver for his wife?
For over 8 years.
For 8 years.
Yes.
Right? 8 years. And then toward the end of this big caregiving journey, I hear you say that he finally made the decision to get some help. And once he did that, unfortunately, the stress got to him first. Within a week, he passed away.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That is unbelievable. I mean, it is believable. It's sad. It's too bad because he didn't get help sooner. It sounds like he could have saved himself a lot of the stress and all of the burden on him, where maybe he could have had a better quality of life along with her, too.
Correct. And the kids were devastated. The children were just devastated, and it was so hard on the entire family. And my heart broke for them. It was one simple phone call on a Sunday morning, and Mom was transitioned, and Dad, it was unfortunately just his stress level just couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, and this is all too common with caregivers, so therefore you had the foresight to come up with caregiver resolutions for the new year. So I'd like to talk about some of these with you so we can share with our caregivers. Caregivers, pay attention. These are going to speak to you. Maybe you've heard it before, but you can't hear it enough unless you're actually taking action, right? So
correct.
This brochure here that Donna has provided, it says, be it resolved that during the year 2019, and then it lists several of these resolutions. So I'm going to read one, and Donna and I are going to discuss it. The first one says, I will pay attention to my own health in the same way I attend to the health of my loved one with dementia. That sounds like that might have been something that happened with the story you just shared with us.
Correct.
right?
We forgot to have our blood pressure check. He forgot to have, he'd take his wife to the doctor, and he'd follow up on her doctor's appointments. But in the meantime, his blood pressure was creeping up. He wasn't doing a lot of his medication management for himself, and that's where the problem started to come in.
So focus on not just your loved one with dementia, but focus on you. It's almost like the old saying, when you go on the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first if they fall from the cabin, so that you can be there to help the person that you're with. And in this case, same thing. Pay attention to your own health, because otherwise you're not going to be alive, or if you are alive, not in great shape to be able to be there for the person you're caring for.
Correct. And that's just so important. I know when I was caring for my mom, yes, I was working, and yes, I was taking care of her, and she was in and out of the hospital, and I had my own family to take care of. But, I had a friend look at me one day and say, "You are going to have a massive breakdown if you don't stop. We are here to help you."
Right. Because other people can see it sometimes. We can't see it because we're just too involved. Okay, the next one. I resolve that I will find the time to rest, eat correctly, and exercise, even if I have to do things a little at a time. Talk about that.
Rest is always very important for everyone. You should try and get the appropriate amount of rest. If it means, maybe a daycare stay, or asking a friend to come in and sit while you rest, or a respite stay so you can catch up and get some rest or get some re-energy. What I find is that we all too often pay attention to our loved one's diet and what's important for them. We forget to eat correctly. We're always on the go, so it's a quick grab of something that maybe our diet shouldn't have. Maybe our health has some other concerns. And, exercise, I will tell you that exercise has been a life-saving factor for me with being a caregiver, is that every morning, and I know most caregivers do not have the time to do this, and I completely understand, but if you just take a few minutes and, just stand at the sofa or stand in the bathroom and do some high steps or something to relieve some of the stress, and do even if you're sitting and watching a movie, do some deep breathing exercises. If you're preparing a meal, deep breathing or some, quiet meditation while you're cooking or something. That's going to help alleviate a lot of the stress.
Yeah, a lot of people think exercise is because people who want to lose weight, but it's not. It is if you do, but more importantly for caregivers, it is just what you said, is to relieve that stress, because exercise can do that for us. It has a lot of side benefits also, so that's a great one. What about this one? I will make time to remove myself from my role as a caregiver and return to my role within the family. What does that mean?
Well, what that means is that, we've always been, I guess is our generation, we have always been taught we need to take care of everybody. When we're taking care of our loved one, we are forgetting that we have other family members, maybe grandchildren, maybe great-grandchildren. Maybe there's a great-grandbaby being born, out of state, and you so want to go, and you're disconnected from the family, or you keep telling them, I can do this, I can handle this. Yeah, it's very important that you find a way to take a break. I mean, even if it's a long weekend and you do a respite stay, or it's daycare during the day because your grandbaby is having a play, or your grandchild's in a play at school, and if you can locate a daycare or do a short transition, that is going to help you reconnect with your family.
So you want to stay connected, right? Because
right.
And not only with family, but with friends too, right?
So very important. Our friends, a lot of times we don't tell our families things that maybe we don't want to share with family, because again, we have always been the role model and the strong one, and we've always been, caring for everybody else. Your friends may be in the same situation, or maybe, they have a friend, And just being able to reconnect with them or connect with them and stay connected is a lot of stress relief.
Right, and I know a lot of caregivers who vent to their friends. They would never say the things to their family members, like maybe complain or, the frustrations that they might be having or the anger they might be having as a caregiver. They would never maybe say that to other family members, but they will certainly share that with a trusted friend, and that's good for them to do that. They're venting, they're getting it out, they're being heard.
That's exactly right. I mean, I have a couple really great friends, and I can text them and just go and just vent. And it's great for me because it does lower my blood pressure.
Yep. So that's an outlet. So stay connected, because I know it's hard with family and friends, but it's so important to do that. It doesn't have to be, something that you spend a long period of time. It can be, like you said, a quick text, a quick phone call, checking in, want to, see what's going on, vent, whatever it is, but stay connected. I love that. These are really, really good. When we come back from our last break, we're going to go through more New Year's caregiver resolutions. So we'll be right back.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do.
Disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
We're back, and I'm talking with Donna Caesar, Marketing Director at an Arden Courts here on location in Seminole, Florida. And she's come up with several caregiver resolutions for the new year. It is January 2019, and these are wonderful resolutions for caregivers to learn how to take care of themselves so that they can take better care of their loved one that they're caring for. So thanks, Donna, for coming up with all these wonderful resolutions. Let's talk about a few more.
Okay.
I'm going to read the next one here. It says, I will learn to play, to see the amusing, the funny, and the absurd in our lives as things to laugh about. What do caregivers have to laugh about? It's such an awful thing to have to do. Why would that be a resolution, Donna?
Well, the laughter is always great medicine. I mean, they've always told us for many years as we were growing up that, laughter helps really reduce the stress. And if you think back, it's, you know, and you sit back and you kind of look at things that are happening in your life. There might be some moments that you can remember, but maybe when you were first married, or maybe when you celebrated a big anniversary, or maybe when you had your first child, that is being brought up again, or, you know, resurfacing, and laugh at that. Laugh at the fun that you've had. Laugh at the fun you have daily. I mean, it could be something so simple. And I'm trying to think of something at the moment to say. I've dealt with one resident that every time I go down the hall, she stops me, gives me a hug, and tells me she loves me. And we'll laugh and we'll joke, and you have the time to go back in those memories and pull all of that love forward and laugh with it, enjoy it.
Well, you know, I've had caregivers say to me, if I didn't laugh, I'd cry. So, you know, they do find some things amusing, because if you can laugh at something, you know, like don't cry over spilled milk, you know, basically if something happens, try to make it light. If your loved one, they're going to pick up on your mood. They're going to pick up if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're frustrated, and they're very good at picking up on those feelings. So the more that a caregiver can, you know, lighten up those feelings, I think is going to be a better relationship between the caregiver and the loved one that they're caring for, because it's not going to be so down, and make something funny. You know, be silly. Just start being silly, and you'd be surprised, I think, that how it would lighten the mood. So I really like that. And caregivers, I would say to you, you are allowed to have fun. You are allowed to laugh. You are allowed to be who you are in the moment. You know, you are a person. So thank you, Donna, for reminding our caregivers that they need to laugh and play. What about this next one? I will look for the good in my caregiving activities and recognize that I do them well. Why would you put that one there?
Well, I would put that one there. We, as humans, we get bogged down, and things become very heavy. And we forget that we're very important, and we're doing everything out of the love and being a caregiver. And that is so important that we are able to pull that out and recognize that everything that we do, we are doing well as caregivers.
But caregivers sometimes feel that they're not very good at it because they've not been trained in it. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's wrong. So what you're saying is do the best you can, because your best is all you can do, right?
Correct. Every day we get up and we all strive to do the best that we can. And every day when you take that small little step to prepare coffee, or that small step to assist with brushing teeth, we are doing the very best that we can always. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to fail at this today.
Right. Right, and every day is a new day, and so if you do make a mistake, you know, nobody does things intentionally. You might not do something as well as you could have, but you're going to learn from that, because this caregiving is something, unfortunately, it's like trial and error most of the time, because caregivers a lot of times are thrown into the position. We don't go to college to learn how to be a caregiver, so you learn as you go, and so you do the best you can. You seek out advice, you read, you educate yourself, and you pat yourself on the back.
Every day, pat yourself on the back.
Pat yourself on the back and say, I'm doing the best I can, and, you know, accept that. Congratulate yourself for taking on the role in the first place, you know, because a lot of caregivers, you know, would just throw their hands up out of frustration. But the ones that just, you know, are in the trenches and doing it day by day, yes, you may fail at something, but you're going to learn, you're going to do better. And so it's a process. It's not, it's not a marathon. It's not something that an end game. It's a journey. And your journey is going to take many twists and turns and down different roads that you don't really know. It's like this adventure that you have no idea sometimes where it's going to lead you. So, be optimistic. I like that one too. Be optimistic and do your best. So that's
look
really
in the mirror every day, either at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and you smile and you say, I love me. I have done a good job. That,
there you go.
I find for myself every evening after I've done my routine, I look in the mirror. I've done the best I could today, and I love me for it.
There you go. Very good. And this one, it says, I will honor those who helped my loved one and me. Well, you just said love myself, but I will honor those who helped my loved one throughout the year and tell them so. So that sounds a little simple, but it sounds very important, too.
It is very important. It is very important that you take a moment and just say, thank you. That helped.
Right. So appreciation for others. Mm-hmm. And what's that other saying? Your gratitude determines your altitude, or something like that.
I can't ever remember those, but it's something like that.
The more that you're grateful, the better you'll feel, and be grateful for the little things. So this is wonderful, Donna. I want to thank you for putting together these 2019 Caregiver resolutions, being on the program, sharing them with us, sharing your concern, your caring personality, your compassion for the caregivers, you being a caregiver yourself. You certainly know what that's like, and you walked in the shoes of caregivers, so you are an awesome person to be able to speak that language. So thank you, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, and Happy New Year, and remember, everybody, love yourself.
There you go. So, everybody listening, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to call the toll-free number to get your free book, 888-478-2410. Join us next week, same place, same time, for another show of the Caregiver Solutions Info Program. And in the meantime, don't forget, give yourself a hug, because you need it, and so does the person you're hugging. So just take care of yourself, do your resolutions, and be the best that you can be. That's all you can do. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teal. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.